Okay, so to prepare LifeSupport, all we have to do is just rehydrate this lyophilized powder, and then we're going to centrifuge it. So all we need to do, obviously, if you're doing this in a sterile manner, you can do this in a cell hood with autoclaved reagents. But for this purpose, I'm just doing it out in the general lab space. So I'm going to rehydrate the full contents of the tube. So I'm going to put in roughly 40 mils of my suspension media. And in this case, because I want to print collagen, my suspension media is going to be a pH buffer adhesive solution. So this is at pH 7.4, which is what you want. If you're doing something like sodium alginate, you'll do 0.1 weight % calcium chloride. But what's important is that once you hydrate this, so we need to actually just disperse this, so we're going to take a vortex mixer. And I recommend vortexing it for around a minute, just to guarantee that everything is dispersed. So we want to make sure that everything's at least off the bottom of the tube. So we're going to keep doing this for maybe 45 more seconds. Okay, so once that's nice and rehydrated, we're going to actually let this sit for around 10 minutes just to ensure that everything is fully rehydrated. Otherwise, it can continue to swell very slightly if you kind of rush this process. So we're just going to let this sit and come back in a couple of minutes. So now that it's hydrated, all I have to do is place this in my centrifuge. So I'm going to balance this. So I put in 35 mils of fluid, so I'm putting in 35 mils as a counterbalance. And for this, we're doing 2000 G for 5 minutes. And so we'll just come back when it's ready. So at the end of the cycle, all we have to do, take out our balance. And then what we have at the very bottom is we have our supernatant, and then we have around 20 mils of LifeSupport that's compacted. So now that's compacted, we just have to get off the excess water. So we just dump it out. And you can see that even when I'm tilting this, the LifeSupport stays where it is because it's a big end plastic, it has a yield stress. So there are two main ways to transfer it into a petri dish. You can either scoop it out with a spatula and then tap it in. And then the other way is I'll take it and I can begin to tap it to kind of dislodge it. And then I can take it and then just tap it into the dish. And then I'll do that, which just gets it to settle. And that's it. I'm going to add a little bit of vacuum grease, which is from Dow Corning. You can look that up online. I like to put 3 little dollops on here. And all of this does, it just ensures that nothing is going to be moving around on the print bed during the process. So I then just place that on the print bed. All that I have to do now is just manually center the needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the motors off, obviously, on the bed. And then I'm going to drop the Z-axis until I get roughly to the top of the print container. So once I'm here, I'm going to move the dish to the front so I can see where the needle tip is, and I'm going to switch over to fine motion control. And I'm just going to very slowly continue to lower the needle until it's maybe a millimeter off the bottom of the dish. So right about there. And then all I have to do is just push the container roughly to the center of the dish. And then this is where you just press print. Something that you do not want your printer to do is any type of homing procedure after I've centered this. So everything is already set up ahead of time so that when I press print, the printer just starts from where it is. Otherwise, if it thinks that it has to say home and touch each of the contact points, it's going to move out of the bed. It's going to drag the needle and clip the container that you're printing in. So just make sure that all the homing procedures have been disabled, which should already be default with the fresh settings profile. So as long as you do that and your container is slightly bigger than what you're trying to print, you should be good to go. So once the print is done, I just take the petri dish with the LifeSupport off. Obviously, since it's LifeSupport, it's not going to flow anywhere. It may be a little hard to see on the camera, but I can definitely see that there's the artery model is in there. So I'm going to take this and then we're just going to throw it in the oven to melt out the LifeSupport and retrieve the collagen. Okay, so now that the print's done, all I have to do is put the LifeSupport and my print inside of a 37C oven. If you're doing this with cells, it's obviously just going to be a cell incubator, but in this lab space, we don't have to worry about anything being sterile, so I can just put it in a regular 37C oven. I do recommend for an ink like collagen, however, that you release it between 37 and 45 degrees Celsius. If you kind of get impatient and try and rush it by putting it in something like a 65C oven, that can actually melt the network a little too quickly, and it kind of prevents the collagen from forming a more mature fibrillar network. So I do recommend a full half-hour slow release process to ensure that the collagen has time to gel. So it's been half an hour. We've let the gelatin-based LifeSupport bath melt. So we're just going to take that out of the oven very carefully. And it might be a little hard to see on the camera with the contrast, but there is the little artery vein model.